All right, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call the meeting to order. As a reminder, please note that board meetings are being recorded for the convenience of those unable to attend this video conference. A recording and closed captioning will be posted to the BERS YouTube channel following the meeting. Before Samantha calls roll, she will read a declaration into the record that must then be adopted by the board. Samantha?
On February 22nd, 2026, Governor Hochul issued Executive Order Number 58, declaring a state disaster emergency due to the winter storm that has produced heavy snowfall and high winds, which pose a threat to public health and safety. This state of emergency is still in effect. As a result, this meeting is being conducted via video conference.
Thank you. May I have a motion? May I have a motion to adopt this declaration?
So moved.
Donald Nesbitt.
For Altman.
Second, Donald Nesbitt.
Okay. Please, as a matter of practice while we're on the video conference, if you make a motion or you second, please give us your name so we can make sure it's documented. For all in favor, please respond in favor.
In favor. Aye.
In favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Samantha,
sorry.
please call roll.
Okay. I'm sorry, who made the first motion?
Deborah Altman.
Me?
Deborah Altman. Okay.
Deborah Altman.
Okay, thank you.
And
Okay,
Donald Nesbitt second.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, Adriana Alicia. Deborah Altman.
Present.
Corinne
Present.
Apollon.
Present.
Phoebe Sade Arnold. Shirley Elban.
Present.
Aaron Bogad. Joseph Borelli. Camille Casaretti.
Present.
Jonathan Collins.
Present.
Marjorie Dienstag. Amy Fair. Gregory Faulkner.
Present.
Anita Garcia. Anthony Giordano.
Present.
Dr. Angela Green. Naveed Hassan.
Present.
Alice Ho.
Present.
Rima Izquierdo. Yadira Jimenez. Baraji Hannah Jones.
Present.
Donald Nesbitt.
Present.
Sharon Odwin. I'm not sure of her audio. Okay, she's indicated she is present. Alan Ong. Bernita Parsons.
Present.
Mahisha Sapp.
Mahisha Sapp, present.
Frank Sarabella.
Present.
Amy Slattery. Or John Dorsa? Not yet. Okay.
Yadira said she's going to be on shortly.
Samantha, do we have quorum?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask Karen or somebody to just, if anybody joins that did not respond, just so we can get it on the record, if anybody joins that didn't respond as present. Thank you, Samantha.
Okay.
The first item on the agenda is calendar item number 1, noting of the minutes of the meeting of the Board of Retirement held on February 10th, 2026. May I have a motion to consider?
So moved, Donald Nesbitt.
Thank you, Donald. May I have a second?
Second, Frank Sarabella.
Thank you, Frank. All in favor of approving the minutes for February 10th, 2026, please respond in favor or aye.
In favor.
Aye.
Favor.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. The next item on the afternoon's agenda is an update from Executive Director Sandy Rich. Sandy?
Thank you, Corinne. Not a lot for today. We have launched the budget process internally. We expect to bring the fiscal 2027 budget to the board in the next 2 months. Recall that the 82 to 85% increase in our members has resulted in significant pressure on operations in our call center and in our outreach program. We got granted 14 headcount when we asked for 42. Just want to give you a quick update on how that hiring is going. Current vacancies are 11. We have 2 postings for quality assurance on the NYCAPS career site. One is Associate Retirement Benefits Examiner, one Senior Quality Assurance Associate. Member Service has 2 postings currently on NYCAPS for Member Service Associate and Assistant. Member Communications has a call center supervisor job posted on NYCAPS career site. We'll be hiring 2 supervisors. A lot of activity in the call center, and it is building. Fiscal operations, we have accountant interviews that are concluded. We expect to transfer a temp employee to permanent status in the next few weeks in accounting. And in operations, we have 3 vacancies that will be filled in the next week or so because interviews have concluded. That would basically, we fully expect to be down to single-digit open headcount in the next 2 weeks. And if we aren't, well, you'll know at the next board meeting. Just as a sidebar, we are bringing into full-time status some of our temporary staff. So I'm going to begin to give you updates on our temporary staff in addition to our permanent staff. Temporary staff was active 13 in February. We're down to active 8. We have open temporary spots that are available and we are interviewing for. So we will be adding to our temporary staff to deal with the surge in business that we are experiencing. And I'll be giving you more information about that next month. I would only add, finally, opportunities for trustee education. NYCBERS Nationally Accredited Fiduciary Program is May 16th to May 17th. The NYCBERS Trustee Education Seminar, May 16th through 17th. You can choose one or the other. Their annual conference follows those events on May 17th to 20th. For those interested in a higher level investment conversation, Fiduciary Investors Symposium is June 1st to 3rd in Boston. I'm actually speaking on a panel there. And then Korea Global Summit is July 15th through 17th. These are all recommended educational alternatives for trustees that we will pay for. Karen can help you organize that if you are interested, and we pay that bill. And let me take this call from Mr. Dorsa for just a second.
I'm going to wait because I have a quick question about the hiring.
Karen, is there a dial-in number for this WebEx that we can send to John?
Yeah, let me resend. It should be on the invite, so let me resend
Yeah,
it.
it's
not letting me go in for my phone.
Yeah, it's blocking him with his phone.
It's blocking him.
Yeah. Actually, the worst case, John, is you can ask Kevin in our IT department to set you up with a computer.
All right,
But
where's
well,
Kevin sit?
yeah, he's on the other side of the floor. Hold on just a second. Do we have a dial-in number, Karen?
Yeah, let me just pull it up really quick.
I can just give it to him verbally.
That'll work. Thank you, Sandy. Did you start the meeting already?
Yes.
Actually, I thought there was. It's virtually, so I don't know. I'm not seeing it on my phone. Hold on.
Sandy, if Bert's in the office, he can escort John to Kevin.
Is Bert in the office?
I didn't see Bert.
You didn't see Bert? Anyone in the is Hope or Anika in the office?
Sandy,
No.
tell John to just click on it on his phone, on his calendar. If he clicks on it, it'll do the same thing like a Zoom.
Yeah, he's having problems with that. I mean, worst case, I can just leave him on my phone and he can hear everything that's going on.
Okay.
In the interim,
If that works for you guys.
yeah, in the interim, let's just say that he can hear everything that's going on through my phone. If he is able to enter the meeting in another way, Salil, Solil, would you, well, actually, I don't know who's in the office right now because we're spread out
Can
all
you
over the
just
place.
note, can you note for attendance purposes that
Yep.
I am here?
Please do that.
Yeah.
Karen, note that Mr. Dorset is present for Amy
Oh, yeah,
Slattery,
no,
please.
I will.
Okay. And
I just referred,
I'm sorry, Corinne, you had a question?
Yeah, quick question for you. Just confirming if I'm hearing this right. You're filling your permanent positions from the temporary positions. People are in temporary positions, then you're converting them to full FTEs. Is that what you're doing?
For some of them, yes. Not for all of them. That's why I talked about the postings. Those active postings are for people who would just be new to the organization.
Got it. And are you, I heard you say, just confirming that you'll be updating us on the next board cycle around the headcount needs? Because I know we approved the budget with, I don't know, 11 or 14. Want to make sure that we're not causing any delay by waiting for a board meeting. So making sure that you're doing your full-on recruiting, understanding that we're staying in touch with OMB to show them also the volume of activity that's happening.
Yep, I can say I talked to Omer today. I told him we'll be sharing the budget proposal in the next month or so, and I'll be giving updates to the board every meeting. So, and you know, if it's unclear to anyone on the call, and we still believe we need additional headcount, and we will be making that argument strong.
Okay. Just want to make sure that we're connecting the dots so we're not delaying when it's a urgent, before it becomes an urgent need. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you,
don't know.
Sandy.
I think I view it as an urgent need already, but that's okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
my
know.
job.
Yeah.
Donald, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was saying on that topic, I also flagged this for the mayor's office today. So they might be getting in contact with folks just to get information as well as the need for more headcount because of our increase. It happened under Mayor Adams, but now there's a new mayor, so I flagged it for them today.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Donald.
Okay. The next item on this afternoon's
Excuse
agenda.
me, Madam Chair, my hand's raised.
sorry.
I had a question. That's
Can
all right. I
somebody-
don't know if you can see the
hold
hands
on.
up.
Yeah, Greg, hold on 1 second. Can somebody, Karen or
Sure.
somebody, please keep an eye on that? So I'm not stopping anybody from speaking that has their hands raised because I can't see everybody. I'm not sure.
yeah, sure. Actually, I just got a hold of Kevin. Sandy, where is John Dorsa? Because
I think, is it,
sending.
John, you in the conference room, NZD room?
Yes, I'm in the NZD room.
NZD conference room.
NZD? Okay, so let me just shoot an email to MS Teams. Hold on.
Okay, thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Greg, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sandy, questions for Sandy. Sandy, when we do our hiring, is it off of a civil service list, which requires a test? Or do we have
Generally
inspection?
speaking,
How does that
generally
work?
speaking, yes. If there is a civil service list, we hire off that list. If there is no civil service list, which there are gaps in that currently, we can hire outside civil service. However, those people will have to take the test and end up on the civil service list when that test is offered. So it's, you know, eventually they will be in the civil service.
So
you know,
so they would be, I guess, provisional hires.
correct.
How many?
Yeah, I was.
Of that group, how many are you bringing on that are provisional that would eventually have to take an exam? Or how many? I guess my question is, how many provisionals do we have?
Yeah, I don't have that number offhand, Greg. I can check with HR and I'll send out an email to trustees to give you that detail. And I'll include that detail in the reports.
Okay, that would be helpful. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, moving along. The next items on this afternoon's agenda are calendar items 2 to 17, the ordinary business of BERS. May I have a motion to consider?
Motion, Frank Sarabella.
Thank you, Frank. May I have a second?
Anita Garcia.
Thank you, Anita. Samantha, please tell us about the ordinary business of BERS.
These are the retirements, refunds, and death benefits processed since the last time the board met.
Thank you, Samantha. We will now vote on these items. All in favor of approving calendar item 2 through 17, please respond with in favor or aye.
Aye.
In favor.
Aye.
In
Aye.
favor.
In favor.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is calendar item 18, adoption of an amendment to the investment policy statement of the Board of Education Retirement System. May I have a motion to consider?
So moved. Deborah Altman.
Thank you, Deborah. May I have a second?
Second, Anita Garcia.
Thank you, Anita. Salil, please tell us about this item.
Sure. So back in November, we made a tactical change to the IPS. The IPS was last holistically changed in 2021. And over the subsequent 5 years, there's been cumulative changes across the board. They've had inputs from, again, myself, two consultants on the private market side, public market consultant, legal, Sandy, comptroller, a whole host of individuals. And so I'm going to rehash some of the high-level changes they've been reminded of in the November board meeting, as well as trustees were invited to the December executive committee meeting, where we went over some specific changes that I'll talk about in capacity and authorization of the executive committee. And the point here is the board is going to be asked to approve the new IPS. And so what we've done over the last 4 years, we're simply taking a more mature vision of the fiduciary responsibilities and the stewardship of BERS. And we already approved a tactical decision to increase the authority of the executive committee from 250 million to 350 million in specific cases, which I'll delve into momentarily. There's also just changes to the language around just cash and how that's being defined, as well as cash management itself. For example, cash was not an asset class explicitly in previous asset allocations and in the IPS, but it is something that is being implemented in a small percentage in the portfolio through the Bureau of Asset Management. There's also more focus on risk management, liability risk management, fiduciary responsibilities within consultants, getting waivers through the board. There's a potential study of ETFs as a low-cost substitute and vehicle for transitions. And we've also reduced minimums to $10 million in private markets. And so I'm going to show the IPS. It's very meaty. It's, give me just 1 second to do that. And you can let me know if you see it on your screen. I assume you guys can see it unless someone says otherwise. Okay. Yep. So it's about 50 pages. And again, we've sort of have highlighted and noticed this over months. And so the executive committee has gone through this line by line over most of 2025 and has had a chance to opine, as well as all the trustees in the former executive committee meeting back in December. But the areas where I'm going to slow down and talk about what's specifically changing is if we go back to the authority of the executive committee that was tactically approved, there was some pushback from legal, and a part of this was done as a standalone back in December just to approve the developed market ex-US, but the language in here wasn't very specific. And so we've done what was functionally and operationally consistent over the years, which is the ability to approve managers, investment managers, up to $350 million. We do have a pause mechanism in here, which I'll go through in a moment. Can you guys, by the way, see a cursor flashing around the screen if I'm pointing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So that'll help in this document. So what I've done is removed specific language that was confusing, but still kept the substance of what was in the authority over many years, and what was meant to be a little more clear. So it just says managers, not managers and programs. Sometimes it was saying managers or programs. And the idea here is that if you're making a termination or an inclusion or exclusion for a specific program up to $350 million, that is something that you've given the authority, which has always been there for the executive committee. And the language around termination, for example, is, let's say, and I'll bring up a hypothetical case so that it could be better understood. Let's say you're looking at developed market ex-US, and you're dealing with the sector of the portfolio that's roughly, and I'm going to make up a number, it's not sized to our actual portfolio, but just to make the example, let's say it's a $500 million section of the portfolio, and half of that, 250 million, is in value and 250 million is in growth. Let's say that the growth portion is underperforming, so you want to replace that particular manager. So over time, you may find that when you're doing that, you want to actually replace it and size it up to 350. Well, you're giving the authority to the executive committee to do that with the 350, but you're clearly giving them the authority to remove the previous 250 in the underperforming growth manager. So the termination is part of it. Otherwise, you'd have built-in risk that's locked in, that you don't have the ability to remove the old underperforming manager. At the same time, if you increase from 250 to 350, the additional 100 million would come out of the value manager. They would go down from 250 to 150. So you're doing the terminations and the terminations and the hirings, or the exclusion, inclusion, all part of that one individual decision to put in a new manager. It's not what we do at the full board, which is a full risk and strategic asset allocation, which is still done completely at the board level. So I just want to be clear that the language is meant to, with that spirit, even though it looks like it's an expansion, it's just trying to be consistent over the long run of what the executive committee was doing. Also, because of the pause in the board responsibilities by putting this at the executive committee, there were changes made at the November board that 5 trustees can suspend the executive committee for an individual decision if they felt that that's something they didn't want the executive committee to do. And when we look at approving, we're making one change because we didn't have all of the member trustees who mentioned this at the December executive meeting, that one of the 5 would be an employer rep of the 5 trustees if this were to happen. So that's on the authority side, which is a very specific component of the capacity and authority of the executive committee. And then we get into the more functional areas. I cannot see faces. My screen is completely used up with the IPS. So if there's any questions or hands, please just speak out loud, very informally.
Yes, Salil, I do have a question.
Yeah, sure.
I'm trying to remember when the change was made. I know it was 5 trustees. So it's 5 trustees can object, plus one of those trustees must be an employee member, or is that in addition to the 5 trustees?
One of the 5 would have to be a employee, not in addition to 5.
And that was added when? Or did we discuss that at the exec? I can't remember.
It was at the executive committee in December.
Okay.
That was agreed to there. And I'll again, yeah. Is please, anyone else, questions, comments at this point? The rest of it, I'll go through maybe a little more briskly because we do have other items on the agenda, but I'll go through the major points. And again, we do have the comptroller rep here and the consultants at their specific areas. They can chime in as well. So
this motion is just about that adoption to the IPS, not the whole IPS.
Corinne, this is for the entire IPS. The only reason we did a tactical change in this particular section was just on the authority and capacity for that one developed market, which by the way, we still haven't approved. That's later on the agenda for today as a result of this. But we're still making a couple additional changes based on the December executive committee meeting, as well as conversations with the law department. I spoke with Darren earlier today from the law department just to make sure that this is clear. But so there was just a little bit more left to go on this, but it is the entire IPS.
If that's
today.
the case, I have a concern that we're not seeing it in its finished product. And I'm not sure that we're
Agreed.
prepared to vote on something that we've not been able to read through, because there's certainly some changes around BIPOC and diverse managers and all of that. And I'm not sure, I mean, I don't know that I'm not certain that I'm ready to vote on something that's still a work in progress, unless and you could say to me that there is a need to do it today. I would feel better being able to review the completed doc after legal's gone through it, after it is final.
Corinne, this
and
is
say,
after all that. This is everything we worked on. This is the final. With the BIPOC language is in here. Legal's looked at this. This is the final.
But
you just said that legal has to look at it.
No. Legal has already looked at this, and they only made a small change after the November vote on just the word termination in the authority, just in that one little section. And then the only micro change was in this authority. I hope you can still see the screen. It was just to add employer rep, but everything else has already been flushed out, and there's no there's nothing else that's.
Yeah, but Salih, you said this is a 50-page document. Am I correct? You brought that up. This is a 50-page document?
This is the same 50-page document that was distributed back in November to everyone.
So, hey, Salil, I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys can see. I tried to raise my hand.
I mean, I can only see it now, but usually I can't see
Okay.
the hands up.
So anyway, this is John Dorso. Sorry I couldn't be there, but I finally got in. I'm actually here with Monty Tarbox, who's the interim CIO for the Controls Office. I know you can't see us, but he's here as well. I just wanted to tag on to something that Karine said, which is if we're not in a rush to have to do it this meeting, since Monty has joined in the last 7 weeks, I'd love to give him an opportunity to take a look at the document and see if there's anything that one of his predecessors may have missed or that we could tighten up. He's been in this industry for for almost 40 years, so he has a breadth of experience when it comes to public pensions and to pension funds in general. So that may be a benefit to this board. There are conceptually, there's just one or two things that I think may need to be tightened up about the ability of the executive committee to terminate private market investments, because we theoretically can't do that without triggering a secondary sale, which is a different conversation. So it's little statements like that that we might be able to accomplish the same goal, but just worded in a way that that is more appropriate for a public pension plan. But I'll just throw that out there. If there's a desire to hold off a month,
well,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with John. I'd like to make a motion that this be tabled to our next meeting, in April.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. If there's a motion on the table to table the vote for the IPS. I would also add, if we're going to do that, Salil, that there's a more organized way that people can just see the IPS with the track changes, just kind of reviewing what's different, what's updated and enhanced, especially around the subject matters that are important to the board as it is now, so that people, for those who don't want to read the entire 50-page, at least to highlight those things that have been made enhanced and improved based on the priorities of this board.
I agree.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to table this, so we have a bit more time to review it before we vote. Can I have a second?
Second, Camille.
Thank you, Camille. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Kareem,
Yes, sir.
Kareem,
Yes.
can I ask that on this? So I don't have no objection to it, but just for this, I know to be consistent with the other votes, we normally make sure that we have 15 votes. Can we call a roll on this?
Yep. Samantha, can you please call a roll for the vote?
I'm sorry, I don't have who is marked here or not because we've had some fluctuations. Some people have joined and fallen off. So I'm just going to quickly go through the whole 28 people, if that's okay.
That's
Okay.
fine. Thank you.
Adriana Alicia. Deborah Altman.
Yes.
Corinne Apollon.
Yes.
Phoebe Sade Arnold.
She's not on the board
Shirley.
anymore. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, just for the record.
Thank you. Let me
This is
remember.
Adriana Elisea. Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Yes.
Okay. Shirley Oban.
Yes.
Aaron Bogad. Joseph Borelli. Camille Casaretti.
Yes.
Jonathan Collins.
Yes.
Marjorie Dienstag. I believe she came on.
Yes.
Amy Fair. Gregory Faulkner.
Yes.
Anita Garcia. I believe you're here now.
Yes.
Anthony Giordano. You were here.
He was here.
Yes, table. I'm sorry. Put on mute.
Okay, there you go. Dr. Angela Green. Naveed Hassan. I believe he was here. Oh. Okay, Alice Ho.
Yes.
Rima Izquierdo. Yadira Jimenez. She may have left. Faraji Hannah Jones.
Yes.
Donald Nesbitt.
Yes.
Sharon Odwin. I'm not sure if you're.
Oh, she gave a thumbs, she gave a
Okay,
thumbs
good.
up.
Yeah, she's thumbs up.
Yeah.
Alan Ong. Renita Parsons.
She gave a thumbs up. So
Okay,
yes.
thank you, Karen. Mahisha Sapp.
Yes.
Frank Sarabella.
Yes.
John Dorsa.
Yes.
Okay.
And Kareem?
Yes.
Madam Chair? And just for the record, everyone, so like I said before, I had no objection. It was just when we have had votes on BIPOC decisions and things like that, there has been an attempt to be very strict on and consistency on getting the right amount of votes, right? And where we didn't have one or we had one less, folks didn't allow it to pass. So if we're going to be consistent in decisions, I think we should be consistent across the board. So that was my rationale in asking for a roll on this.
Got it. Thank you. So the motion passes. Thank you, Salil. Okay, the next item on the agenda is calendar item 19, adoption of an amendment to the authority and procedure of the Executive Committee of the Board of Education Retirement System. May I have a motion to consider?
Corinne, I believe the next three
That was-
agenda items are based on this one being approved, so they get canceled.
See, hold on, it's on the paper. So this is about the IPS though.
I'm going to look at the agenda, but the next three are related to, are dependent on the IPS being approved.
It trickles down. So if the IPS is not approved, then these can't come before that.
I got it. I'm looking at it now. Yep, got it. So we
But isn't
jump
there
down to
current-
the item. Go ahead,
Question.
Greg.
isn't there a current
Yes, go ahead.
IPS? Isn't there a current?
Yeah, there's an
Am I-
IPS that was tactically amended in November of 2025.
But right now we have an IPS. Am I just asking?
Yeah,
There is an IPS. So why wouldn't these fall under the current? Why would you have to wait for the new one to be approved? Or there?
The three
When it
additional
happened,
right.
Yeah.
The three additional ones, one is simply a resolution that gives that authority of the executive committee itself. The next one is just a carve out on the authority component, which you do as a standalone. So, because sometimes you don't want to have those two linked together. And then the third one is simply a renewal on that authority. So all of those are based on what would have been a newly approved IPS. But right now, we have existing from the November board meeting, those three resolutions approved from the November one.
So they couldn't be amendments to the current IPS that we're operating on right now. That's what I was, I guess, asking. Is that correct? I guess the lawyer or somebody.
I didn't understand the question, but
Do we have a current IPS?
He's saying,
Let me try to understand. You would like to take the executive committee authority piece of the IPS past that portion of the IPS changes so that we can then go on to
I'm just
vote
wondering why
on
they
these
can't
other two items.
exactly why we can't
In the
amend
same way that we
current.
changed the 350 limit.
Yeah,
You know, we
yeah.
did that piecemeal. I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah. Why? I mean, it just if we have a current IPS and these three items are there, why can't we just amend the current IPS and then take on the bigger IPS later on at the next meeting? That I'll take your guidance.
I mean, I
on
don't
it.
see any urgency on dealing with these other two. It might be cleaner to do them all together, but I'll defer to Salil. This is more of, his.
I think the other two are redundant because they've already been approved back in November. So the only reason you would approve these trickle on is if you were to make a change to the IPS today. Otherwise, they're existing from the amendment back in November. They're already in force. There's nothing to there would be nothing to approve.
No, but their point, Salil, is to approve that portion of the IPS that deals with the executive committee authority.
Okay,
and then leave the rest of the approval to another time.
So the authority was changed from 250 to 350. There was some back and forth with legal about that back in November. So that portion was changed. We were looking to make an additional change that was very microscopic to put the employer member rep into that authority. So that was just literally a few words. And then also fine tune the language around what used to say investment managers to investment, or it used to say investment managers and programs to just investment managers, inclusion, exclusion, things like that. So that seems to be something that if I'm getting a conflicting information whether people actually want to approve just the authority. So
that part seemed very simple. And I think when we're talking about a larger document that was 50 pages,
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that might require further review, but on just
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that. If it's
so I would just amend the current
I'll bring it back on the
existing
screen.
IBM document and amend it to include that one piece, which I think people would be comfortable. I mean, I think people might be comfortable with that. I don't want to make it confusing, but then
I'll put it back
if
on
we
the
had to do
screen.
an investment with the executive board, it wouldn't delay us in terms of being able to do an investment that might be the higher amount. I just thought that we wouldn't have to wait.
Can I also make a recommendation? I hear what you're saying, Greg, but if we're going to be doing the entire IPS, I don't know if it would be simpler to just do all the changes, highlight each one, and then vote on it in one fell swoop.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, I just thought it would be easier to do the one that didn't seem to be controversial, but that's fine.
Because if I'm hearing properly, we already have voted on since November, and it's just a minor edit that we're trying to do here. Is that right?
Yeah, we voted on November. We're making a minor edit only because what happened in November then got relitigated and didn't actually work for Developed Market ex-US, which is why we couldn't vote on that at the next executive committee. And it got pushed back on the board and it keeps rolling forward. Hopefully we're going to get it to today by accident, at the board with quorum. But yeah, everyone's saying the right things. I just don't know. I'm happy to go with whatever you guys decide.
The only caveat is if we need these to be done and we have quorum, we might not have quorum next month. So if something is timely and needs an urgent response, we should do that. And then if the IPS is not approved next month, it's fine.
That's where I was
No.
heading, Madam Chair.
So these changes have been basically known complete for many months now. There's no urgency in this month versus April 20 or a couple months down the road. There's no there's no action that's going to be impacted. I mean, assuming we pass Developed Market ex-US today, which looks like we would, there's nothing else that's on the horizon over the next few months.
So does that mean we need to pass it or no?
Vanessa, you're on the line, right? We can punt this. I don't see John Mersberg necessarily online. Is he there?
Yeah, John.
I'm here.
All the
I'm
Johns
here.
are here.
Okay, so what we could punt this and then yeah, we can punt this a couple months. That's fine. And I'll put this on.
When you say when you say we can punt this, do you mean the IPS? Do you mean the developed markets?
Yeah, the IPS. I'll follow what's been recommended. I'll resubmit this back to everyone with the changes to 50-page document, what we'd like to do, give it some additional time for consideration, questions to be answered, and then try to revisit this at April or later Board of Trustee meeting. And we'll go straight to, we have enough time on the clock right now to do the Developed Market ex-US vote, which would be immediately.
So based on what we voted on in November, we have the authority currently to vote on the executive committee to vote up to 350 without the full board. So that's not going to disrupt anything if we don't make quorum next month or the month after.
Yes, although we don't have any specific action item that falls into that because they're treating right now Developed Market ex-US as over 350 because they're looking at an entire set of managers collectively as opposed to each individual manager at 350.
Got it. Okay.
Are increasing the amount that the board increasing the amount of money that the board can authorize doesn't require approval from the full board?
It does. But he's saying
said,
that there's not another vote. There's not another vote on the docket within the next few months that would need us to have that authority.
Yeah. So there's so there's absolutely no chance that anything would come up that we might need that authority, which we could grant to ourselves today.
Yeah, and we have the consultants and Bureau of Asset Management online to confirm that. So yeah, there's nothing foreseeable in the next few months that would require us to refine that particular authority right now.
Okay.
But the only thing I hesitate is that there is a fixed income search that we started a couple of years ago, an RFP. And if it finalizes soon from the controller's office, like I wouldn't be able to foresee if it finalizes in a month and a half. It will be a large dollar.
I'd like to recommend we move on the basis of caution. Since we have quorum right now, if we can do the approval to ensure it doesn't disrupt anything, we should go ahead and do it. It only takes a couple of minutes. We have not approved the entire IPS, but I propose that we, is it item number 19? Authority of Procedure Executive Committee of the Board. It's item 19. And I propose that we do the two that will allow us the authority, and then we'll go back to the IPS.
Tony had raised his hand. So Tony, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I agree with going ahead with it. And I just wanted to, for the newer members or people who aren't around, the impetus for the check of the executive committee actually came from the executive committee. I think we've all been very open and want to make sure that we're not obfuscating the will of the full board at any time, but we don't know if that'll be the case in the future or what the internal relationship of the board and the executive committee would be in the future. So that was actually the executive board giving protection against an executive board.
What, Tony?
I'm talking about the amendment to the amendment
No,
for.
Tony, I don't think that was, no. I don't think that was the impetus for this. The impetus was around making sure that we're able to not miss investment opportunities if we're not meeting quorum. And so allowing the executive committee an increased
He wanted
ability would
Yeah.
allow us to be able to move the work forward if we're
Right.
not able to hit quorum. It
I was
was
talking
not
about the
about to protect
portion.
us
No, I
as
was
new board members.
I was talking about I was talking about the portion of the part where the executive board can be that an action of the executive board can be nullified. That's what I was talking about.
He's curbing our power.
Okay.
We were curbing our own
We
power.
we curbed our own power essentially.
Yeah.
That was my point.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to put back on the table calendar item 19. Yes?
I'm sorry, I had my hand up. Maybe you didn't
I'm
see
sorry.
it.
I can't see it, Camille. I
Yeah,
apologize.
no, it's
Go
cool.
ahead.
It's cool. I just wanted to say that I have enjoyed working with you all, but I don't feel like we have the transparency that we really need. Like, I did not know when the last executive board meeting was, and I've been trying to attend just so that I can really understand deeply what's happening. And Karen said she was adding me on, and not sure why I did not get the invite for that because I've gotten others. But I also feel like we have a commitment as trustees to this board, and the dates were given to us well enough in advance that we should be able to schedule around that. And while I understand we're volunteers and that things come up at the last minute, I honestly feel in my heart that giving more power to the executive board sort of puts a lot of us in a position where we don't necessarily have to prioritize showing up at the monthly meeting. Like, I am prioritizing BERS.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say nobody else is, because obviously that's not true, but I just want to be careful how much we're transferring over in terms of responsibility to the executive board that is supposed to be our responsibility as trustees.
Camille, I don't disagree on some of the things you're saying, but here's the problem. That some of these investments could happen so quickly in the timing that we need to be able to approve investments, because what we would actually be hurting are the members. If we have an investment that, and I know at some point in the past, we have missed out on investments, not during this term, but we missed out on investments that really impact member pensions. So it's a protection that in case we don't get a quorum or for whatever the reason, and we can pull together the smaller group, it gives an extra layer of protection for member benefits. Our first responsibility is to make sure that we're providing the resources so that members are able to secure their pensions. And so I think that the board is very careful in wanting to not, we put in protections, we want to make sure that there are checks and balances, but there are going to be circumstances where we miss, and it's happened where we just weren't able to get a quorum.
If I may, it's not really checks and balances if members of the board are not notified when those
Correct.
meetings are and not being communicated with. So
That's correct. You're right.
I would say that from an equitable standpoint, it should never be necessary to circumvent the process in which we are sitting on this board, because there needs to be oversight as to how these things are being discussed, and then two, how we're voting on them. So yes, we have lives, we have other things going on, yes, and it may even slow down some of the process, but to just say, well, you know what, we need to just push these things through without necessarily making sure that other board members are giving a clear explanation as to what they're voting for, I think that that is not fair to any of the education workers or investors that are participating in BERS. I think that it will be fair across the board to make sure that the board members or the board of trustees are, communicate with and have all the information. So I'm against any type of, well, you know what, since we don't have, we can't foresee whether or not if there's going to be a situation to where members of the board can't be here. We don't know if we're going to have quorum. Like, here's my thing. I don't want anyone trying to assume why I didn't make the meeting, right? If I didn't make the meeting, it had to be for a reason. It had to be a good reason. It doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean that you're not concerned. It, I mean, basically, Mother Nature didn't allow us to meet in person. So what I'm saying is, let's be equitable about the process across the board rather than just rubber stamping. I don't believe in rubber stamping anything. And so if I don't have all the information, I'm going to sit, listen, ask questions. But if another member of our board of trustees is also having that concern, then it's up to us to actually listen to that and consider it. Yes, this process is a very long process, and it's going to take time. But let's be sensitive to people that have lives outside of this too.
Thank you, Faraji. I think that there's also some context that needs to be made clear to understand what the proposal was. And I think the proposal was not to circumvent anybody. I think what we're responding to was factual of what's happened in the past, in that there was several investment opportunities that we could not participate in, not over one missed meeting, but over several months. And so the change was not to circumvent anybody. I think the change was to say we are currently at 250. It is to increase it by 100 million because, and it's not just to say that, and I agree with you. And Camille, that obviously transparency is important and key, but I want to make sure that it wasn't that we the executive committee just wants the authority to make decisions without you. It was a situation where we had an investment opportunity. It was over, I want to say like it was 4 months or 5 months, in that the full board was aware of it and didn't have any objections, but because we couldn't meet quorum, we could not take advantage of the investment opportunity. And I think it would be the same on a go-forward basis, even given the authority that's been increased by, a third, not even a third. The information would be shared with the full board. But in the event that we didn't have quorum, the executive committee would have the authority to approve it. Further, there is a caveat in that, or an amendment into that, which says that if the executive committee wanted to approve something and 5 members of the board outside of the executive committee had an objection, they could still stop that vote. So I think context matters because it's not an unchecked authority, all right? And understanding the reason why we're raising this concern was because it is what has transpired in the past has caused us to miss opportunities for strong investments.
Karine, can I just break in it one more time? And I'm so sorry,
Sure.
the whole Zoom thing in the hand. I hear you and it makes sense. However, in practice, it's just not working like that. Like the example you just gave, if there was an agenda sent out about the executive committee planning to meet on this date and planning to vote on this vote, and I didn't get it and nobody else on the board got it, then how do we even know to chime in and say, oh, the 5 of us don't agree with this? There's like
Karen,
the transparency.
I'm going to ask Karen to respond to that because I agree, Camille. If the process calls for your ability to, you as a board member, every board member should have the ability to see everything. I can't speak. I will tell you for myself, even depending on when the meeting is and what I receive, I will get a chance sometimes to get through it and sometimes I'm not able to get through it. I can't say definitively, and that's where Karen has to chime in to say what is going to who and when. But obviously I'm on the executive committee, I'm on the board, and I receive a lot of stuff. I'm not honestly not able to go through all of it. So I'm wondering how much of it is what don't you receive and you should receive versus and not you, Camille, but everybody doesn't have the ability to
No,
go
I
through everything
hear
all
you.
the time, and sometimes that's how stuff is missed. So Karen, can you address Camille's question?
No, typically with the executive committee meeting, the invite goes to the executive committee meeting and then I'll blast it out to all the board members. So I'm not sure what had happened, but also, just to let you know, if you want to find out what has transpired with executive committee meeting, we do post it on the YouTube because but we have a BERS YouTube channel, so you can follow those videos. I can always send you the link for that as well, so you can get a follow-up with our meeting, like post-meeting notes.
I would also like to add that the meetings are noticed for public attendance as well. There's a requirement that these dates and times and location are provided well in advance. Not that a trustee should have to get the information from our website, but if there is some issue with an email, which I'm sure Karen will certainly look into, if someone's not getting something on our blast emails, you can always go to our website and find out information there.
Yeah, I mean, I
Madam,
really just
Madam
need to
Chair.
push back on this because all of the burden is then put on us to figure out when communications went out, did we receive it or not? But like, I think you guys know where I stand with this, so
Hey,
thank
Camille,
you.
I'm
Yeah,
just curious.
it sounds like that's a technical issue
Madam,
that you didn't receive something.
Camille, are you using your school email or are you
Madam,
using which email? Because yeah, I know
Both,
sometimes you only
correct.
send to
Both.
school.
I mean, I'm
Yeah, both.
checking
Okay.
both.
Okay, good. No, I'm just curious because I know sometimes it doesn't go to my school email. And I have a hard time accessing that. So, but I agree, you should be receiving them.
yeah, Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I just want to chime in for a minute. As an employee representative on the board, I've been here for 11 years, the longest standing trustee on the board. This is, and not negating anyone's comments. This is the first time I've ever heard this in 11 years of being here. Most communication goes to everyone about every meeting, every trustee that's here. The creation of the executive committee was simply, as Kareem put it, Kareem seen 4 months in this administration in this group of trustees. I've seen where it's been longer than that, right? And as an employee representative, and frankly, an employee representative who represents the members who are in the system, and both of our pensioners also here at BERS, I will say that is unacceptable, right? The creation of an executive committee was for us to be able to make investments to make sure that retirement checks are being paid. The risk on an investment is not only on the actual investment that we make, but we're also risking the retirement benefits of folks if people are not present, right? And there's been months at times, and we've actually tried to come up with other solutions to this. When folks come to the PEP, they are not made aware that they are actually members of the retirement system until after. We're thinking of other ways that maybe the PEP members can vote themselves to see who actually sits at this retirement system and maybe shrink the size of the board so we can have consistency because when investments come, there have been investments that I've seen that the controller's office had brought. We had an investment team. We brought some investments where there were possibilities of 25 to 30% return. And we couldn't make the investment like the other 4 systems. And we've been fortunate to be the best funded systems out of the 5, just on some wise decisions that we've made as a system. But overall missing 6-7 months of folks not being here, and again, not this board, but the creation of the executive committee came before this board and this structure, and that was the sole purpose, that we can continue to make sure that retirement checks are going to come in for the members that Frank actually represents. Frank is in our school working every day himself, and so he looks forward to his retirement being there and there being adequate funds at the time that he retires. I'm an elected officer of the union, but my pension is at BERS. I'm dependent on that when I retire. And so the creation was that there's some continuity, that we continue to make investments on behalf of the members. So I believe that context had to be there. And again, not this board, but we've also seen where at times there's been months that we couldn't get quorum. But before this, I can tell you guys it's been worse at times. And so the creation of the executive committee was simply for that purpose, not to circumvent the power of the entire board, because everything is reported out to the entire board. We've also recently, as has been mentioned, created a system where some folks who were representing other fractions of the membership said, well, we need to have a fraction of our members, 5 members, who, if we object to some things, we can object. I put in an opined in and said there should be consistency with votes. An employee trustee should have a vote and a say on that. So we put in protections to also make sure and ensure that the full power of the board is still maintained, but to not have opportunities for votes to make sure that retirements are coming in with great returns, because the attendance or quorum is not here, that too in itself is not acceptable. And again, I'm not negating what anyone said. If anyone did not give material or information, that is something that should be corrected. But I needed to give context as a trustee that has been here for 11 years and that represents the members here, and also has a retirement myself here, my pension here.
And
Thank you,
one
Madam
last
Chair.
thing, I want to add to that, Camille. Not sure if you're aware, we are the only pension system that has this large of a board membership and requires a large number of members to be in attendance so that we can have quorum. We have a 28 board membership. Unlike any other pension board, we are the largest, and it's harder to make quorum.
Hi, it's Rima. Why can't we try to change the time of our meetings? I know I've asked previously, but somebody mentioned about PEP members not being aware of being on BERS. I mean, some of us were, but those that weren't did commit to being available at that time.
Rima, I appreciate the question. I want to make sure we get back to the information in hand, but I will ask that I know this has come up many times before. And again, because we have 28 members on this board, no hour is going to work for everybody. Some people who work can get here earlier. Some people who have families to tend to can get here later. So there's always going to be almost a tension. And I think the most important thing that we try to do is try to make sure that we make a time that's accessible to the most to try to get quorum. And so if you have some
I
real
mean,
restriction,
it
go ahead.
seems that the time right now does not work for quorum. So why don't we try one time, a different time? Maybe that time will work better than the current one, but we've been trying this time and it's clearly not consistent with what most people are available during. I think we should try something else before trying to change our structure, because if it's a timing issue, then let's try it and say we tried it and it doesn't work.
So Rima,
I'm going to
would
ask
you think-
Sandy. I'm sorry, Greg. I'm going to ask Sandy and Karen to respond to that, because again, this is not a new problem. This has been ongoing for many years.
Yeah, Corinne,
Greg,
we
go ahead.
can actually do another survey of trustees.
Mhm.
You know, we have played with the dates, the times, and actually considered the pre-PEP meetings, which we have historically done, and we'll do another survey, and we'll publish the results. I mean, we've done this.
We've done it
Pretty-
multiple times,
really.
Sandy, and I
Yeah.
just feel like Corinne had mentioned, everybody has different requests for time frames, different days.
Yeah.
So there's really no strong or preferable time frame. It comes out to equal level. So it's really
Yeah.
hard to
But
appease
I was
everyone's schedule. What works for some people from 5 to 7 may not work for 1/3 of the majority. So they're
We
really
should probably survey every year, since somebody mentioned one-term mayor, somebody else mentioned one-year appointments. We're looking at a new team every in June, at mid-July at minimum. And we're looking at appointment transitions. Even right now, we just had 2, 3, 4 new members join us in the last 3 months. So I think it might be worthwhile, if not annually, biannually, to continuously survey to ensure that we can be available when most people are available.
Yeah.
yeah. By the way, I've
We'll do
heard,
another survey.
yeah, because I've heard.
Can I also say this? Can I say this, please? Because I hear this a lot since I've been sitting here about what boards did in the past. You know, you have individuals that are here now. I think it wasn't too long ago that it was made clear that we be present, so that we can actually vote on these important things. We're here. And for some of you, there's a stark difference between you working at BERS versus working a day job and then having to pick your child up and then actually still making the meeting at 4 o'clock. Can we be sensitive about that? Now, I'm not saying be sensitive about not making it. I'm saying, can we be sensitive about the fact that we still make the commitment of being here and being present? So, whatever happened in the past, let this be known that the individuals that are here now and listening and voting and making sure that business is taken care of the way it needs to be taken care of, that's not being undermined, that we are setting a precedent for other board members to also follow suit. It is a huge commitment, and we've been committed to doing that. And so, if someone says, hey, this wasn't communicated with me, you know, I understand. Maybe you were consistent at some point in time of making sure that communication was made. But there are some times where we just mess up. Okay, so we recalibrate, make sure the information's out. That happens all the time. So I don't want anyone feeling like, I hate when one of my members, especially other members that don't work for BERS but are actually present here, that make a suggestion and that it's not met with, if it's not met with that, you know, sense of empathy, so to speak. And so I'm just saying that, can we be a little sensitive about that? We're here now, and we're setting the precedent for other board members even after us, to be present. And we've been very, we communicate to other board members and even potential that how serious this is, and making sure that we all stay make sure that we're all present. So we do try to make sure that we're communicating with each other and that we're calibrated and we make sure that we're present, is what I'm saying. Thank y'all. I appreciate it. I just, had to say that.
Is anybody else's hand up? Just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, I just want to, Faraji, I want to address your statements and say to you that I think we all know that this is a heavy burden, and we are all appreciative and thankful because you are volunteers, and that to your point around availability based on your other priority, I think well, I'll speak for myself. I appreciate and understand it, and not but and we also have, and I think this is why this came up, to be able to try to make sure that, given some of these realities and some priorities and requirements, that we are on the flip side also making sure that we're able to move and address some of the points that Donald made, right? And so, to the extent that we're all human beings and all have lives outside of this, I will be the first to say to every one of you as volunteers in taking on this role and responsibility is thank you, and we appreciate it. And I will say to you, every PEP member, is not equal, not from a punitive perspective, but your responsibilities and others' responsibilities are very different. And some of you that have made that commitment to try to be here as much as you can, others have made the decision that they're not going to be here. because they can't, or they don't understand, or they're not really interested in this body of work. So we have to take that into consideration as well. I got to tell you, I appreciate the fact that you and Camille are really taking a stance of we want to be here, and we want to participate. But you have to consider that's a small number of a larger group. And I agree. And I don't remember who made the statement that on top of that, the PEP board is constantly changing. So you're getting new people on a regular basis. And so to accommodate for all of these types of scenarios, I will say to you that there's clearly needs to be some checks and balances around people receiving information if and when they want them, to be aware of them. And because if you don't know if you're not getting something, if you didn't get it, right? And so we probably need to do a better job with confirmation, asking people to confirm. And if we don't get a confirmation, I know that Karen put out also a text group that seeks to inform people through many different streams of communication. Again, having said all of that and appreciating and understanding and being empathetic, we also still have a job to do overall, as Donald mentioned. And so we have to find ways to ensure that we can deliver on that requirement and understand that people will do the best they can, those that want to be here and are interested, and will be given grace when they cannot. But what we cannot do is not be able to move the work forward, regardless of what the restrictions may be, and what other problems we may face. Like I said, I've seen 4 months, 5 months not hit quorum, but I've only been on the board for 3 years. And so we have to account for all of these realities, understanding that there is no intention of malice or disruption, but the intention, while it may be a good intention, we still have to find a way to get the work done, understanding that this board has a different construction of membership, and we've still been able to be one of the best performing boards because we are taking all of these realities into consideration.
Madam Chair, I think Rima Esquerdo had the best suggestion. I think we should just resurvey, because I do know that there are a couple of panel members that if it were a later meeting would probably be able to make it. So I think just resurveying everybody probably is a good idea.
And I appreciate that, Greg. And I just want to reiterate that the PEP, so our quorum is, what is our quorum again, please? Just so I don't misspeak.
For this meeting?
For
15.
here.
We need
Okay.
15.
And the reason I asked is because we do not struggle with quorum at PEP. So if we align to the PEP schedule, at minimum, you're looking at quorum from the PEP members. And we have other members, and I hear that everybody's been here a long time, but what makes some of us eligible for PEP is the reason that this time doesn't work for us. Some of us have kids on buses. Some of us have to pick kids up in person in a borough that's not where BERS is. And I don't want it to seem like we are not interested in this space or not clear on our obligation or just deciding not to show up. It is a real struggle to show up. And again, I'm speaking for those that look like me. And as you mentioned, it's a great diverse board, which is amazing because that makes us better and more representative of the people we represent. At the same time, even if we're talking about a small amount of people, that's the difference between quorum, and that's the problem I'm hearing.
So can I just make one point? I guess as somebody who, I guess I'm one of the few people that's actually not a volunteer, and this is part of my job. I just want to make sure if we move the meetings later, that we're not going to disrupt any of the BERS staff that are working under a CBA, that are that there's not any issues related to the workforce of BERS having them stay later than their required hours. And if there are things that Sandy, you would be able to take care of administratively, to not burden the staff that have to service the the board, because I am mindful of the fact that we do have not just us here, but the people on the board, the people that help us here also have families too. So I just want to make sure that there are things that are within your wheelhouse to make sure we're not violating any CBAs and that it works for the staff too.
Thank you
Sandy
for
will
that
do staff
point.
with us.
And thank you. Like, I just want to recommend, like, I know sometimes in other spaces we'll come in 2 hours late or reduce an hour a day. I definitely don't want anybody working extra or this affecting and negatively impacting any employees. But, you know, like, what accommodations then can we make that are, you know, that make sense? Whether it's 2 hours earlier, an hour a day, half an hour a day for a week. But at least let's just try this one time.
Let me assure everyone that we dynamically manage that, and staff can accommodate just about anything that trustees can accommodate. It's a matter of finding a mid ground, and it's just very difficult. I mean, generally, we hope for a mid ground for 15 to 17 of our trustees is our goal, and that's about all we can generally get.
So again, this was a fruitful conversation. There are some next steps on things that we can try to do to get the board back to the best way to get as much quorum as we can. I think given what we've been just had this conversation about and going through calendar item 18, 19, and 20. Calendar item 18, where we're postponing because it's the full IPS. Calendar item 19 is the adoption of the amendment, which I believe was already approved, Salil. So I'm a little confused as to what we're doing here. If it's an amendment to one verb or word, this has already been approved, correct?
What you see on the screen, with the exception of what's in blue, has been approved. There were changes in here, for example, the 5 trustee pause and so forth. That part was approved back in November. The parts in blue were some micro changes. That would be the amendment. But for the
Salil,
IPS,
nobody can read anything in blue. You have to tell us what it is.
okay. The amendment for the 250 to 350, which was non-functional because it included conflicting language with the law department in terms of managers and programs and things like that, that was completely approved back in November.
By who?
What's
By
on
who, Salil? By who?
The
Who
full
approved
board.
that? We
the
did.
full,
The full board voted
The
on that.
full
Okay.
board.
the full
Okay.
board. And then for today, what's on the agenda was a resolution for all of the amendments, including the micro amendments within the authority, which is to streamline this and to make it so that it actually works, so that you could actually do the 250 to 350 at the executive committee and not have it only be at the full board, like the developed market, ex-US search, things like that, and include the one employer rep. Is that
I'm not
helpful?
sure.
Not?
What is the amendment, Salil? If we've already approved the increase to 350, what is this amendment speaking to? Is it just the if the objection piece of the 5 people plus 1 labor member?
It's the whole IPS, which includes the
Okay, stop, Salil, stop for a second. Stop about the whole IPS. I'm talking about only calendar item 18 is the full IPS. Calendar item 19 is about the adoption of an amendment to the authority and procedure of the executive committee of the board of the education system, which is the increase, correct?
It is, and that increase has been modified because of the one employer rep and the removal of the word programs and terminations, things like that.
So we've already voted, the full board in November already voted to have the increase, correct?
They voted for a non-functional increase. Yes, they voted for
Okay.
something that will never
And
use.
this item number 19 is a refining of the 5 group with a labor. That's just a
Correct.
refinement for an objection. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. If we do nothing today and we don't vote on this and we table this, the authority to approve the increase has already been made.
Correct.
Except that the
Ex-
board members will not have the ability to object for that
That's
short
right.
period of time.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yes.
Can I say something? I also
Sure.
was under the impression that in this amendment, and Salil, you're showing something else on the screen. Their word program instead of managers was an issue last time that we were trying to discuss the developed market search. So in order for us to discuss the developed market search in an executive committee meeting, what program needed to be eliminated and just leave as managers. And that's also something that the legal department discussed or mentioned and made a change. And I noted that there in the chat, a few board members mentioned that they were leaving at 6 o'clock and it's already 5:32. So that's why I'm a little sensitive when I jumped on something even though I'm not a board member.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. It sounds like that I'm going to recommend that we, and I welcome any other feedback, that it doesn't sound to me like we're going to have the vote to do this on 19 and 20, given the objections that have been raised. And so we table it to do the whole IPS over the next term, and we'll put all of these things in there so we can get one vote and make sure we have quorum over the next 30 or 60 days. Because we spent a lot of time on this. While it's important, we want to make sure we get to some of the investment discussions that we have need to be addressed by the entire board.
I don't see the agenda with the 19. What you're saying makes perfect sense. The items, so we can move forward all the way down in the agenda to wherever it says developed market ex-US, which should be the next item.
So we
after
should be
that.
going into executive session then.
Correct.
All right.
So I'll make a motion to exit and go into executive session if that's helpful.
Second.
Thank you.
That.
Thank you. Karen,
Donald,
Karen, can you please?
Donald Nesbitt, sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Donald. Karen, can you please turn off the recording?
Yeah,
and anybody
sure.
who's not supposed to be on, make sure they're not on.
All right.
Salil, can you please provide a summary of what occurred in executive session?
That's what I'll do right now. During the
sorry.
executive session, that's okay. During the executive session, the board discussed calendar item 21, a not-for-profit prison divestment update. They also discussed calendar item 22, a review of the 2025 annual plan for public equity and BIPOC statistics. During executive session, the board approved calendar item 23, developed markets ex-US.
Thank you, Samantha.
And if there's no further business, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
John. That concludes the agenda for this meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for April 21st at 4 p.m. May I have a motion to adjourn? That would be you, John.
So moved. John Dorsey.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Good evening, everyone. Have a nice
Bye.
night.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good evening,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks,
Good
folks.
evening.
Good night.
Bye.